Aging looks a whole lot different these days, and today we have two people doing it with movement and grace as we kick off Healthy Aging Month. Good morning, I'm Jessica Lovell, and welcome to the Morning Medical Update. Today, our geriatric medicine specialists answer some of their frequently asked questions. And we go straight to the source with a man and a woman proving that age truly is just a number. We've got here in the center with us Dr. Jessica Calendar-Rich back with us. How are you?
Good, thanks.
Good to see you. And Dr. Janelle Jones, both are geriatric medicine specialists here at the University of Kansas Health System. Dr. Jones, nice to have you on the show today.
To be here.
And we have two very, very special guests. First of all, it is Bring Your Parent to Work Day. My dad, Merle Lovell, is sitting here with me today. He's 76 years old. He is incredibly active, and you like to remind me of that quite often,
yes,
that
yes.
oftentimes you're more active than me. I know. However, we have also brought in Dr. Barbara Bowman. And Dad, she, I think, could run some circles around you.
I don't like the competition.
Lots of competition because Barbara is 90. She swims daily, she does yoga, stretches, she does all the things, and she's going to tell us all about it today. So I want to start with ladies first. Barbara, let's hear some secrets about how you're doing this, and let's just start with why this is so important for you. Why is it such a priority?
Well, first of all, it's always been, I've always liked to do sports and activities. My father was a professional baseball player, and so I used to get out and he'd throw the ball at me and I'd knock me over. But yeah, I've always been very into being outdoors, and I enjoy it.
So you've been active throughout the years. This isn't just something that you said, hey, I'm living a really long, long life and I want to enjoy it. You've always been active.
Yes. Yes, and I think that's very important. To not only be active, but to like to be active.
Okay, so you do this every day. You do your stretches, you swim, and I know both of our doctors will talk about the importance of stretching and staying limber in those ways. You do this daily. Tell us a little bit about your daily routine.
Yes, yeah. Every other day I do yoga.
And then you swim?
And swim. And I also do at the Powell Community Center, an activity called Health Benefits, which is all three of the core and strength and cardio activities.
Okay, so you brought us a little video of something that you do. You've been doing it since you were like 9 to 90, head, shoulders, knees, toes. Tell us about it.
All right. Well, I learned this in Girl Scouts, and it's a little song. You can't hear me singing.
Well, do it now. What is it?
Head, shoulders, knees, and toes.
Knees and toes.
Knees and toes. Head, shoulders, knees, and toes. So early in the morning.
Yay.
That's
I
what
love
I do
it.
when I get up in the morning.
That's perfect. Something so simple, right, Dr. Calendar-Rich? I mean, just something as simple as just getting your body going.
Right.
Make all the difference.
Anything that you do is the thing that you do.
Anything you do. Dr. Jones?
Yeah, I mean, what we talked about here is, it's wonderful to engage in activity from the time you're 9 to 90, but you can start today, right? And so that's what I tell everybody. We all got up this morning, and so we can start to engage in activities today.
All right, so Dad, let's get with you. What are your daily activities? How do you stay active?
Well, I still work. I get to work about 7, and I leave at 1:30, and if the weather's nice, I play golf. But I usually work out 3 to 4 days a week at the title boxing.
Yeah.
And for 45 minutes.
Here you are killing the bag with Sean.
Yeah, Sean is holding the bag for me. Yeah, and I found it when I got into it. I just really enjoy it. It just, you're exhausted when you're done, totally exhausted.
Oh my.
And but it's so much fun. It keeps me active and it's fun, and it moves all my muscles. I was telling Jessica, a few years ago, you would, I walked a lot or carried my bag when I played golf, and but you're just walking. That's all I was doing. And with these things, I'm doing so many other things. If it's kickboxing or just the calisthenics or whatever, it's just you're moving. And the different trainers have different routines, and so you go to different ones, and they will just make you do and they push you, and I need to be pushed.
But you know your limits, and we're going to talk about that because sometimes I get a little worried. I tell them to have
I
me
worry
on
about you,
speed
too.
dial. I know you worry about me too, but so Dr. Calendar Rich, we've got man and woman. Do men and women have to be considering different things as they age? Is you just lump them all into one group, or is there different things that each men and women can do?
You know, generally speaking, we can all do the same thing, right? Generally speaking, we all just need to move. We need to be flexible. We need to be strong. I will say that women's bones tend to get weaker faster. And so for women, it's particularly important, although maybe particularly people in particular generations are not used to doing strength training, but it is very important to do some strength training, which can be something as simple as taking cans out of the pantry and doing bicep curls with them or lifting them up above one's head. But really, it's just important for everyone to move and maintain that strength and flexibility.
Dr. Jones, your thoughts just on men and women doing it differently, doing it the same?
Well, you know what we talked about, Dr. Calendar Rich pointed out the one significant difference. Women's bones start out smaller, right? And so it's easy to lose some bone mass with age. But everybody needs to do cardio, strength, and balance training as they get older. And it doesn't have to be in a gym, but everybody needs to do those three things, I think.
Yeah, and we've talked about how it can be simple. Grab the cans, grab a chair, and just start one day at a time. How old or at what age should somebody engage with like a geriatrician? Or is just seeing your doctor enough?
Yeah, this is a question we get all the time, actually.
I'm eager to hear what
Dr. Jones and I talk about it all the time. So, you know, we talked at the beginning about how age is really just a number. And so for some people who are aging very gracefully and are not having any of the things that we call geriatric syndromes, which I'll mention in a moment, perhaps those people are very well fit with their primary care physician. In many cases, a geriatrician is going to be able to focus in on some things that change as many people age, which include things like falls and polypharmacy, which is lots of medicines that people might have gotten put on throughout their life that could potentially be interacting or causing actually extra problems. Other things like cognitive problems or memory problems, balance problems that I've mentioned before, and you know, other things that can happen as we age. But not everyone needs a geriatrician. And in some cases, a person can have a primary care doctor and see a geriatrician very infrequently as a consultant, right? There are different models in which they can do this.
That's what I was going to suggest. You know, I have been in primary care as well as being a geriatrician. And our primary care colleagues do a great job for a lot of people, but sometimes, you know, you as a primary care colleague, you look at somebody and say, man, I need some help. And so that's where a geriatric assessment consult can be great. It can be a one-time review and tune-up, and then you go back to your primary care doctor with some ideas about how to age well.
I like that, kind of preventative, and that kind of moves me into screenings. We talk about preventative medicine on this program a lot. I got my mammogram yesterday, so it's all about doing our screenings and getting there before we have to get there and where we get into the zone of having a problem. So I want to ask both of our guests, Barbara, what kind of screenings do you do? Are you doing them still? Are you getting your bones checked? How does that go?
Thanks to Dr. Jones. One of the first things that happened when I saw her, she went through a list. How long has it been since you've done this and this and this? And it's been a long time. So now I've got, I think, everything taken care of.
One of the things that we look at is, again, to Dr. Calendar Rich's point, different people at the same age have different screening needs. And so one of the things that we see with older adults is that preventive care becomes much more individualized. It's a matter of a conversation about a person's health and their goals of care. And so that's how we make a decision about whether we're going to do a DEXA scan or mammogram, and it is different for each individual. And that's where I think, again, a geriatrician can help our primary care colleagues.
Okay, so on a personal note, I got to ask you what kind of screenings you're getting. And so then my friends here can tell me if you're doing everything right, because you do come home and brag a lot. You always go, oh, my numbers were low, or oh, I have no plaque, and I mean, it's a competition.
Or I shot a 75 that day. Maybe.
Oh, yeah, yes, you always talk about your golf game. So let's talk about your health game. What are you doing, and how often are you seeing the doctor, and what screenings are you getting?
The only thing I do, I get an annual physical, and then I do go to the dermatologist twice a year because being out, and sometimes more often because I've had some issues with that. being out in the sun, raised on a farm, so you're outside a lot. And anyway, so that's basically, that's pretty much what I do is, internist does the physical, and that's it.
Is that enough? Is there more he can be doing if he wants to, if we're getting him to his 90s?
I mean, right, so not everything is every year. So that might be, I mean, there are other things I suspect that are happening intermittently that you just didn't think to mention. Things like colonoscopies.
Oh, yeah, I did that,
and,
yes.
right?
Okay,
And
well,
like
thank you. Okay.
specific blood tests and, yeah, go ahead. I'm passing this to our primary care colleague.
Yes, please.
Right. So again, I bet your doctor is sitting down with you and looking at your overall health and making decisions with you about, do you need to continue a colonoscopy? And for some people that will be true, and for others it won't be. So I know you have a great primary care doctor that's sitting down with you and talking every year about what you need to do, and then making decisions about whether that needs to happen every 5 years or 10 years or every year.
Because we get asked a lot, like, do you ever age out of needing a mammogram? Do you ever age out of needing a prostate exam? You know, Grandpa passed away of prostate cancer. So are those questions that are talked about, and are those things that are individualized?
So this is a big deal, right? Because our evidence-based guidelines peter out on us because older adults weren't included in those studies.
Interesting.
And that's why we come back down to looking at each individual's health and goals of care to talk about, do you need a mammogram? So someone who's in really good health might need a mammogram when they're 85, right? Because they may live to be 100.
Right.
While someone who is in less good health no longer needs mammograms at those ages. And that's why it's really hard to comment at a distance on your preventive care, because your doctor has the information on your overall health.
Yes, and to your point, he does discuss that,
Yeah.
and you know, the colonoscopy and all those, prostate and all that stuff. It's checked every year, if not twice,
Yeah.
from time to time.
So on that note, then, Dr. Calder-Rich, is aging considered a disease?
Yeah, so this is actually a really controversial question, you know, whether aging is a disease. And I would say, and I think many of our colleagues here would say, aging is not a disease any more than adolescence is a disease. I don't know about you, I have teenagers at home, and sometimes it feels like a disease. But, you know, it's really not. There are things that happen to everyone's body as we age, but the way in which that impacts their body and their function is very different. And that's why aging is not a disease. Some of the components of aging can either be caused by other diseases or other syndromes, including things like frailty, but it's not, in and of itself, getting older is not a disease.
Let's talk about sleep and diet, because that's something that my dad and Barbara, Dr. Bowman, can control. So do you sleep a lot? Is sleep part of your health
I'm a
routine?
good sleeper. When my husband doesn't snore.
Okay.
But usually I
hear you.
I see your husband, so I'm going to
Yes,
You get it.
for her sake and his.
Right.
Well, he said, you're probably going to talk about me with Dr. Jones when you're on there. Well, anyway, yes, I've always been a good sleeper, and I think that's really important.
Well, I would imagine if you're swimming and you're doing all of these active things, that sleep kind of goes hand in hand. I know you, take 2 or 3 naps a day? I always find you napping in a chair somewhere. But you do have to get your sleep. A lot of people say as you get older, oh, I need less sleep. I only need 4 or 5 hours. But is that really true? Do you?
So our sleep architecture changes as we age, and the amount of time we spend in the deep sleep actually changes, and so how refreshing that may be can change.
Interesting.
And so yes, we still need really the same amount of sleep. Many people will get tired earlier in the day and wake up earlier in the morning. That's really very normal. But in general, our goal is to still get the same 7-ish hours of sleep. If I ever got that, I'd be so happy.
Right, in a perfect world. Quick dieting secrets. You're big on just kind of keeping moderation, not eating a lot.
Yeah, I've
What
never
else?
been a big, when I'm full, I stop eating. That's pretty much my rule. No more than a small bowl of ice cream every night. That seems to help. But
Of course.
yeah, no, I've never been I don't stuff myself, I guess, and then I eat anything and everything I want.
But watch your intake.
Yeah.
Barbara, what are your dieting secrets at this age?
I'm pretty much the same as Merle, yes, as far as that, except I have a chocolate addiction.
I think we're okay with that.
Oh, well, the chocolate has some sugar with it, so I have to be careful I don't
What
do
is
that.
that? What is this that you're eating? Just chocolate, like raw, straight up, or ice cream, or cake, or all of it?
Have you ever heard of Hershey's Kisses and things like that?
And you just pop them in? Yes.
Yes. So that's something I have to be very careful about, but I'm not anymore. I think, oh, I'm 90. I might as well eat and stuff.
Well, and a lot of people do think that. Oh, I've earned it. I can just eat whatever.
right.
But again, I mean, you've got these people living so long. I mean, you got to do it right, Dr. Jones?
Yeah. One of the things that when people come to see me, one of the questions is, how can I forestall, let's say, cognitive deficits or impairment in the future? And we talk about, there are studies that show that a Mediterranean diet can make a huge difference. And these are things that are preventive. Sleep is a huge factor in forestalling future cognitive decline. There's other factors as well, but one of the things I talk to people about, life is about joy, right? So we don't want to feel like we've lived a long time because we've denied ourselves everything that gives us joy. So I think a few Hershey's Kisses along the way are also
Thank you. Doctor's orders. So you've got it. She said it right here. So let's talk about it. We talk about the physical, but let's talk about the mind. And Dr. Callender-Rich, we've talked about this. I'm going to ask our guests, how do you keep your mind sharp?
Well, I think working out helps me if I'm keeping my mind sharp, for one thing.
And still working.
And yeah,
Getting up every day, going into your job.
Yeah, good job. I still enjoy that, and that keeps me active. I like to read. And that's kind of a hit and miss. Sometimes I go through periods where I read a lot and then I stop. And but that grandkids, spend time with them, and that will keep you active, and your mind. But that's pretty much it.
Yeah, that's good. Dr. Bowman, what about you? How do you stay sharp?
I like to do a lot of different things, and I like to read a lot. Just in general, I have been always into lots of things, I guess.
Yeah, just a good balance
Yes.
of everything.
So I would say you all are doing exactly the right things. Thank you so much for sharing all of this stuff. I think we really have to keep using our brain. And you're right, we know that exercise is really critical for continuing to keep our mental faculties moving well, and also socialization. So hanging out with other people, whether it's family or friends or anybody that's out there, that can be really key in helping keeping the mind sharp.
Keeping your patients engaged, right?
Yeah. There's a great program called the LEAP program. It goes on through the Alzheimer's Disease Research Center, and it's for people who want to prevent future cognitive decline. And it talks about 6 areas: keeping cognitively engaged, good sleep, exercise, good nutrition, good socialization, and stress reduction. And that program, you can do it on Zoom, or you could do it live. And they also have a piece just on the Mediterranean diet, because a lot of people, they don't know what that means, and they don't want to eat salmon every day.
But we hear about that a lot.
And you don't have to.
Yeah.
So that's a program that I talk about, because it really covers all the 6 things that I know these people are doing naturally, but everybody may not do now.
Correct. So let's talk about the Landon Center on Aging and what it offers the community who has access to it.
Yeah, so we also have both research and programs at the Landon Center that are excellent. So we have a community component that includes exercise. So anyone over 65 can attend any Landon Center program, and they're free. You don't have to be a patient of the geriatric clinic at the Landon Center. But we have cardio programs, we have stretching programs, and as of September 6th, we're going to start Tai Chi, which is a great program. There you go, Dr.
You're
Bowman.
in. Yes.
I'm begging for it. It's a great program for balance and to help prevent falls. We also have brown bag lunches, and there are some really cool people who participate and are part of the Landon Center milieu. And we have research projects as well. So we have Dr. Jake Sosnoff has a project on how to fall well. Everybody's going to fall, but if we fall well, then we may not break something in the process. So that's a research project we have going on there. And then Dr. Ken Seldine is starting a brand new research project where we measure a bunch of functional attributes and then track people over time, both in some arms without further information and with other arms with more information about what to do. So we've got a lot of exciting stuff going on at Landon Center, I think. Are you going to do the Tai Chi?
I am. I love it.
All right, I want to see it. I want pictures. Pictures. And before we move on, Dr. Calder-Rich, we do lean on you a lot when we talk about falls and fall risk. You usually have something to add regarding that, especially as the weather is going to change here, before long. And what do we need to know or keep top of mind?
Yeah, so first I want to go back to something you said a long time ago about diet, but it fits here too, right? Listen to your body. We have to listen to our body. And our body needs good nutrition, but it also needs, from the standpoint of falls, it needs balance, it needs flexibility. We need to wear the right shoes, especially when the roads are bad and the sidewalks are slick. And really just thinking about how we're moving. The more strength and flexibility we can gain at home before we get out, the better off we are.
All right. I have another question for you, but I want to get to Dr. Hawkinson. If you have any questions for our panel today, use the chat on YouTube or Facebook. You can tweet us or email the Medical News Network. Info is there on your screen. Let's get that code count. Dr. Dana Hawkinson, Medical Director of Infection Prevention and Control. How are you?
Yeah.
Hi. Good morning.
Doing good. The COVID count was not so good. We had double digits this week, I think up to 14, unfortunately. But I think that we have all anecdotally heard about, obviously, COVID circulating a little bit more in the community, Jess. So
we know it's there.
Yeah.
We also know that West Nile virus is now in Kansas.
Yeah.
Kind of switching to a different topic. Kansas Department of Agriculture reports horses have West Nile virus in 4 counties, including Douglas County, also Barber, Butler, and Pratt.
Yeah.
No reports in humans, but we know this is spread through mosquitoes. What kind of concern is this really?
I mean, I think it should be a concern to everyone. And again, this is going to be going to prevention about using your bug spray. So obviously, yes, there have been recent reports of the West Nile virus found in horses. I do understand that there is a veterinary vaccine, an equine vaccine for West Nile virus. So some of it have been postulated. Maybe the farmers or whoever owns the horses are not getting those horses vaccinated. But I think more to the point is the fact that we know that West Nile virus is out there, spread by the mosquitoes we have in the county, in the state, and all in our region, actually. So I think it's important to understand that there was also another MMWR looking at 2021 and causes of neuroinvasive West Nile virus, which is really the severe form and can be fatal as well. And there were 10 cases both in Missouri and in Kansas in 2021. Why is this important? Because neuroinvasive disease really only happens about every 1 in 150 total infections. So you have to believe that if we have 10 cases of neuroinvasive disease, the amount of actually West Nile virus circulation is much, much more. And overall, just about 20 to 40% of people ever have symptoms. So most people are asymptomatic, but symptoms can arise in those other people. And again, 1 in 150 people approximately will develop that neuroinvasive or possibly fatal form of West Nile virus. So it is out there, and so that's why it's important to continue to use bug spray with DEET in it to help prevent those mosquito bites and infection with West Nile virus.
All right, Hawk, good advice. Thanks so much. Any reporters with us today? Let's get to some community questions. And Janet says, I've heard it's inevitable that older people will get dementia. True or false?
Oh, false.
Good.
Looky here.
Right?
Again, I think it all comes back to keeping engaged. Humans are social creatures, and we're creatures who need physical activity and engagement. One of the things that Dr. Bowman didn't mention is that whenever I ask her to do something, she goes and reads the studies about it, and then she asks me about it. And so I think the more you're engaged, I think working is a good thing. The more you keep engaged, either through volunteerism or work working or being engaged in your faith community and with your family and do the other things we talked about. I've seen people live without dementia in lots of cases. I don't know about you, Dr. Calendar-Rich.
Absolutely, and data would suggest that over the age of 85 is when we start seeing the numbers of dementia go up. But younger than that, really with preventative measures, and even older than that with preventative measures, those numbers can continue to go down.
Ruth Ellen wants to know, explain the difference between a wellness care visit and a physical with a primary care doctor.
Yeah, so a wellness care visit is a specific visit designated by Medicare, where we actually are just asking a series of questions about preventive care items and doing specific tests that Medicare wants us to have done. There may not be a physical as a part of that process. Medicare doesn't pay for a physical exam as part of that process. So that is a Medicare annual wellness visit. Separate from that, during any visit, you can have a physical exam, but don't expect to have a complete physical exam when someone calls you in for that Medicare annual wellness visit, because it has a different purpose.
Jeremy has a question, and he wants to know why Merle and Barbara are making him feel so lazy today. But hey, you and I and all of us both. But he has a question for Merle, asking, have you found changes in your balance over time?
No, I haven't noticed it. Maybe it's there, and I haven't paid attention to it.
And I haven't noticed it.
No, I really haven't. But again, I think exercising has probably helped that. But I have not noticed it.
Jean wants to know, how helpful is dancing at this age?
Fantastic.
All right, thumbs up.
It hits so many of our needs, right? It's not only physical activity, but generally you're dancing with someone or with a group. I mean, things like that integrate all of what we are fantastic ways to get active.
Absolutely. What about crossword puzzles? We talked about reading, but just puzzles, like crossword puzzles, how important are those for keeping us sharp?
You know, I think there's a component of doing stuff like crossword puzzles and reading and really keeping your mind sharp while keeping your body sharp. All of it together really is a package deal.
Okay, some more questions. Oh, God. Okay, Angie wants to know, is sex safe at any age?
Yes.
Yes. Yes. Safe at any age.
Okay.
Part of life.
Yes.
Really important.
Yes.
I always tell the students, older adults get to have sex too. You have to ask them about it.
You two,
right?
You two perked up and wanted to answer this question.
You know, it sounds crazy. We feel passionate about it, but you know, there have been studies. The studies about long-lived societies. The people in those societies are not taking supplements and doing crossword puzzles. They are living life.
Okay.
They are dancing and having sex and walking and seeing their families and eating really good food.
Okay.
Right? So,
Barbara, I'm looking at you. You don't have to comment. I'm letting you comment if you want to comment. He's not allowed to speak. He is exempt from this question. Don't even think about it.
Well,
I see it in your face. I'm not even going to ask you. See, I just want to get to a couple more questions. Dr. Calendar-Rich, I do have to ask you, for people like myself, and we've had this conversation about talking to our parents, if we're lucky enough to have them around years and years, about those uncomfortable conversations about staying safe, getting the Apple Watch, wearing the alerts, you know, so that you kind of have this peace of mind that they're doing okay when you're not with them. How do we...
Are you trying to tell me something?
This is an intervention, by the way. That's why I brought you here. You can't escape.
I've been tricked.
You've totally been tricked, yes, okay? So this is what this is all about.
this is what not to do.
Right. So how do we talk, though, to our parents, you know, they don't want to be told what to do. They've got their own life. They do their own thing. But they're conversations that need to be had.
Yes, and they don't always need to be had. There are many older adults for whom this conversation never has to happen, right? But for when it does, whether it's because of a physical change or a memory change, those conversations are really individualized. And I would say they need to be open, and they need to be honest, and they need to be framed around keeping your loved one safe, and also around, and I do this in my own family, giving me the feeling of safety for my loved one, right? So I feel better that I have family members whose Apple Watches are connected to mine.
Yes,
right?
yes, I like that.
And it's not because I think something's going to happen to them. It's because if something does happen to them,
It's peace of mind.
I'd like to know early and not later.
Yes. A few more questions. I have to squeeze these in. Ruth Ellen wants to know, does our digestive system age as we get older, and are there things that we should be avoiding or adding?
Well, there is one particular thing that we are aware of, and that is that our enzyme that digests dairy diminishes over time in all cultures at different rates. So if you do notice that you're having some problems with, bloating or gas, one of the things to think about is eliminating dairy for a short time to see if that may be a problem for you, or using lactate or lactose-free products.
Yan Liang wants to know, just to both of our guests, just do you have any issues like with your knees or any parts of your body that you could get concerned about possibly injuring due to the fact that you're active? Everything's still running as it should?
Well, urinary system.
Girl, I hear you. I'm 48. I get it. So that's not bad. What about you?
One of the things that we see, and people don't talk about it.
Yes,
right?
exactly.
And so I'm glad you brought it up, Dr. Bowman, is, our urination patterns change with time. And if you don't talk about it with your doctor, there's nothing, people think, oh, I just have to live with it. And so there are things that we can do both behaviorally and through medications to help with that.
So no
Same
topic.
with sex.
Thank you. No topic off limits. So here we talk about everything. So and that's why we appreciate our guests coming on to kind of just share and go there with us. Any injuries? Anything that you said you know your limits? You know what you can do, what you can't do.
Well, pretty much, yeah. I've been fortunate to not get hurt. Yeah, and I've been pretty active years ago. I played a lot of basketball and that sort of thing. So I just try not to do things that are going to get me hurt. And I know, but there are times, like even just playing golf, you turn the wrong way, and next thing you know, your shoulder hurts, your wrist hurts.
Well, I gave up skiing when I was your age because I was afraid I was going to fall.
Now you're just making me angry.
It's like, are you on skis?
I'm going skiing this afternoon.
Oh, are you really? Okay.
Just to prove Barbara wrong. I love it.
Yes.
I love it.
We'll have you guys back for a comparing contest.
Absolutely. I need to get them both in the.
No, I'm not coming back with her in here.
She's making him look bad, and he does not like that. But
Can't have that. We won't do this again.
we have to get a little Tai Chi match going on here for sure. I want to get to our final thoughts. Before I do, you're 90, but how do you really feel? Age-wise, what's the number? Is there a number?
I really don't feel 90 most of the time. Occasionally, when my knees hurt, but Dr. Jones took care of my knees, so they don't hurt anymore. So I don't know. I'm always surprised when I look in the mirror.
Yeah.
And it's me. Do you have the same reaction?
I turn the mirror around.
Good thinking.
My grandmother lived to be 100, and one day she said, I was walking by a department store window, and I turned and I saw this old lady, and I thought, who is that? Because she told, and I said, well, really, how old do you feel? She felt 35 until the day she died. And so that is, I think, a fascinating thing about older adults. We don't feel. How we feel inside is a really good indicator of how we're doing.
And it's nice to hear it from the source. How old do you feel?
Well, I've jokingly said, I feel like I'm 45 and I live to be 112. Neither one of those are true, but that's.
And I always think of you as, they always say you see your parents like when you graduated high school. Like I think of him as like he's 48 years old. I think of you like my age, you just see him and I'm not.
That's not how that works.
I know. I'm in denial. I'm in denial of him getting old. I'm always like, hurry, why can't you hear me?
Hey, I'm in denial of it also.
Right? Well, I want to go around and get takeaways today. Dr. Jones, what do you want people to take away from this conversation?
I do think that, there are things that we can change and we need the courage to do that. And there's things we have to accept and we have to have the wisdom to know what those things are. But talking to your doctor about it, at least I think people sometimes accept things that we can help address and change as they age.
Dr. Bowman, what is the takeaway?
Each morning when you get up, think about doing something.
Head,
shoulders,
knees and toes.
Right.
Knees and toes. I love it.
Yes, and that's what I think. I live in a community with older people, and I'd like to encourage some of them to be doing that.
Well, yeah, not everybody's going to get out and swim and box and all the things, but if they can hear the story and turn a page, turn a corner, and get on the right track, I like that. Dr. Jessica Callender-Rich, what is your takeaway?
I feel like you should be the poster child for Girl Scouts, by the way.
Yes!
Teaching it at such a young age, right? That you've carried through. My takeaway is really listen to your body and keep it moving. It needs to move. It wants to move. It wants nutrition. It wants sleep. in the right quantities, not all the time, right? Like listening to your body, listening to yourself is really key to keeping going.
I like that. What's your takeaway?
Well, I guess I'd say it's Dr. Bowman said she started skiing at my age and 76.
Stopped.
Stopped.
Stopped, yeah. At your
Well, she
age.
probably will start again. But I was 71 when I took up the boxing thing, and it's just never too late to do something like that and just keep going. And at some point in time, I won't be able to do it. I'll do something else. Then I'll take up skiing.
Right, then you're going to follow this lady, right? Great. I love this conversation. Yeah. Dr. Hawkinson, how are you aging so gracefully? You don't look a day over 74, by the way.
Don't get severe poison ivy.
Good.
No, thank you. No, I think this show is great, and it continues with one of the overreaching premises that we always talk about, and it's prevention, and it's prevention of a lot of things. And certainly we've heard about prevention of aging or feeling those aging effects. It's always vitally important to get good sleep, activity we've heard about, good nutrition we've heard about today. But also remember, we are constantly in a battle with the world around us. So it is vitally important to continue those prevention techniques. We've talked about mosquitoes and West Nile virus. If you're going to be out this weekend, we're going into a long holiday weekend, please wear your bug spray. Help protect yourself from ticks and mosquito bites. Also, sunscreen is vitally important. It's still going to be hot out and warm and sunny, so wear your sunscreen as well to help prevent skin cancer. We've heard about skin checks having to go twice a year, so that is vitally important. Food health is always important. Make sure you're cooking your food thoroughly, not cross-contaminating utensils or preparation materials to other foods as well. And certainly moving through, we've also heard about anecdotally increased circulation of SARS-CoV-2 of COVID now. So remember to have a plan. Prepare yourself, have a plan. What is that plan? It is, if you have symptoms, test early so that you can get treated, especially if you're in that high-risk category. Understand those situations you're going into. Are you going to be outside or are you going to be indoors? It is always okay to wear a mask. And as Dr. Stites always says, those principles and pillars of infection prevention follow you wherever you go. So hand hygiene is vitally important as well.
Another thanks to all of our guests today, and thanks to our viewers for their questions and being with us today. We will see you next time. A new type of drug can find cancer and link it back to your immune cells. I'm Jessica Lovell on the next Morning Medical Update. We meet the first patient in the U.S. to get the fully approved treatment. Why doctors jumped at the chance to use it. Tuesday at 8.
Subscribe to our Morning Medical Update and Open Mics with Dr. Stites podcast. Now, everywhere podcasts are available.